Welcome, Statway students, to your first lesson in digital learning here. I know that it'll be a little bit different, and I'll miss talking to each of you in person, but we're going to do the best that we can. So the good news is we have cut out some of the material, and so we can take our time a little bit more on the things that we need to learn, but the standards are still relatively high since this is a college class. So I worked with the Normandale professors to cut things down a little bit, but we still need to do a lesson every other day on average, but I'm sure you guys are up for it. All right, so for today, we're looking at 922, which is about confidence intervals for a population mean. Now, we're talking about a population mean here, not a population proportion. So this is different than last chapter. Last chapter, we found the error using this formula right here because we were talking about proportions. So all those p's in there, the p hats, are 34% or something like that. Now in this chapter, we're talking about means. So in the introduction here, we were talking about they're talking about commute times. So it could be like 14 minutes. It doesn't have to be percentages anymore. It could be any type of a number. And that makes some additional variability that needs to be taken care of in the formula. So this formula right here is from last chapter, finding the error. The difference in this chapter, the previous page, this one had a z critical. Now we have, in the last chapter, it was this relatively complicated square root of p hat, blah, 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 blah. But in this chapter, it's a little bit more simple. To find this chapter, this z score was given by the confidence interval strength. So 95% had a z-score of 1.96, for example. Looking at the next pages, now the formula is a little bit different, but the format is still the same. The error is still what we're finding. We're still taking a critical value. Now in this chapter, we're not talking about z critical values. We're talking about t critical values. So these are different. A t critical. Now the second part of the formula is actually simpler in this chapter. The s divided by the square root of n, given by s divided by the square root of n. We're still finding this error and then adding and subtracting it from whatever our sample mean is to come up with a confidence interval. So that's pretty similar. Now, in this chapter, because of the additional variability, the t critical value depends on how many degrees of freedom we have. And so this huge table here, which is not all of them, obviously it skips from 5 to 9 and then doesn't go above 40. These give you the t. Now these are not things you have to memorize, but we just have to learn how to use them. All right, so going on to the next page here. I'd like you to go ahead and try these.